Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. So, like the title says, U.S. foreign policy is U.S. domestic policy. You know who said that? Tulsi Gabbard. This is one of the reasons that I trust her so much, that I admire her. We have all heard that unmarked, unidentified military or paramilitary troops have been picking up protesters off the streets of Portland, Oregon, placing them in unmarked vehicles and whisking them away to unannounced locations. Yes, this is a fascist nightmare. This is where our country is going. This is where we have gone. This is where we are now. However, this did not begin suddenly. In fact, it has been heading this way for many years. There have been significant events which have indicated that we have been heading this way, and in many cases, I and others have called attention to these events on numerous occasions, only to have our words fall on deaf ears. None of this should be a surprise to anyone. This is U.S. foreign policy becoming domestic policy. If you search through the history of fascist and authoritarian regimes, you can see this pattern repeated consistently. The only difference is that in this case, the U.S. government is not pushing for regime change, as we have done to other countries. Let's take a look back at some of the events which have led to where this is happening now, and how previous administrations have empowered this administration to do what they are doing and not be breaking any laws. Under George W. Bush, habeas corpus was suspended temporarily. That suspension ended under Obama until he signed the 2011 NDAA, which was enacted in 2012, National Defense Authorization Act, which suspended habeas corpus indefinitely. For the record, habeas corpus is defined as a writ requiring a person under arrest to be brought before a judge or into court, especially to secure the person's release unless lawful grounds are shown for their detention. In other words, this is the right which you have to be informed of the charges you are accused of and to be heard in court to defend against those charges. Right now, people are being detained with no charges filed, no court cases scheduled or considered, no right to defense or representation of any kind. In 2016, Hillary Clinton told Haim Saban that she would crush the Palestinian solidarity movement, end quote. I wrote extensively about that at the time. The Palestinian solidarity movement is something as simple as you or I saying that Palestinians should have a right to not be slaughtered by Israeli forces. How does one crush a popular movement, an ideology? Again, simple enough answer. You declare anyone who expresses sentiments favoring this ideology to be a terrorist. Once you are declared a terrorist, you have lost all rights to habeas corpus. You can be detained, questioned, and tortured indefinitely. The government does not need to present any charges. They do not need to allow you to be seen in court, allow you to defend yourself, inform your family or your friends or the media where you are, if you are alive, or anything else. If this was done in another country, our media and government officials would be calling it disappearing political dissidents. Because that's what protesters are. Political dissidents. That's what I am. If you agree with me, that's what you are. We are political dissidents. If you disagree with what your government is doing, you are a political dissident. It was under Obama and Hillary that the U.S. was funding and arming terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda, some of whom would reform to become ISIS, especially in Syria. It was under Hillary and Obama that the U.S. sold world record at that time amounts of weapons to Saudi Arabia, which were then used to engage in the genocide in Yemen. It was under Obama in which the economic assistance to Israel was increased to $3.8 billion a year, which is being used in the ongoing genocide of Palestinians. So it was Obama who signed the 2011 NDAA, which legalized U.S. government propaganda. It was Obama that signed the 2016 NDAA, which created and funded the creation of the U.S. Office of Propaganda, in effect a ministry of truth, such as George Orwell, 1984. The militarization of our police has been ongoing since George W. Bush, with military surplus being given or sold to domestic police departments. First, one should question, how is this surplus? Did they buy too many? Then why are they still buying more? Have these items become unserviceable? Apparently not, since they're being used to threaten and attack U.S. citizens. Excuse me. As a former U.S. Army mechanic, I can say that in the 80s, we used equipment until it was badly outdated and replaced with new models, or it could no longer be repaired for service. In other words, it became scrap. So how do we see almost brand new looking weapons and armored vehicles in the possession of domestic police on our own streets? That militarized police was not used much until we saw it in action under Obama. Remember Ferguson, Missouri? Remember the Dakota Access Pipeline? Today we are seeing this in use against U.S. citizens almost any time they raise their voices in protest. In other words, when you use your First Amendment rights, which is a human right. Trump has already stated that he intends to send military forces into other cities which are experiencing protests, meaning we have not seen the end of these disappearances by a long shot. Interesting thing that I have not heard the Democrats screaming that this is a violation of civil or human rights. Actually, they are saying it. They're tweeting it. But then they turn around and add additional funding to the Department of Homeland Security, which the DHS is using to perform these actions. They have not offered any legislation that is stopping it. All they're doing is tweeting. It's nothing but theater. There's no talk of legal charges or impeachment for the detention without legal defense or representation of U.S. citizens. Of course, they barely made minor theatrical gestures for children being held in cages either. This means that people are being detained and they truly have No representation in any sense of the word. The next step in this, make no mistake, the next step in this is going to be that a dissident such as myself will not even have to be protesting on the street to be detained. Government agents will knock our doors down and take us away in the night, possibly to never be heard from again. It really is coming to that. If you think that this would be reversed by changing administrations to Biden, who was the vice president during all the stuff with Hillary and Obama, which enabled Trump to do this, if you think that voting Biden in is going to stop this, you're wrong. Biden was the vice president when Russiagate was all, started, and he's still giving credence to that. He's still talking against Russia. He's still talking against China. So none of this. What we are doing is exactly what we have done in other countries with the CIA. This is the same thing. It's not a question. This is U.S. foreign policy turned into domestic policy. This was inevitable. It has always been inevitable. It's been coming. If you're still in denial about it, just wait. First they came for the socialists. If you don't know that reference, look it up. When they come for you, who will be speaking for you? Huh? Because right now, if you're not standing up against what is happening, then eventually they will be coming for you. All right. That is it for this one. Make your voice heard while you still can. Speak up. Protest. Write letters, make phone calls, do whatever you've got to do. But stop sitting back and just letting this happen. All right? Share this video. Talk about these subjects. Because if we're not talking about it now, we're not going to get a chance to later. All right? If you can, please donate $1 a month to help expand this channel. And I hope you have a good evening.